The bustling city of Dubai gleamed under the relentless sun, its skyscrapers piercing the sky like shards of ambition. In the heart of this opulent metropolis, in a sprawling villa owned by billionaire Emirati businessman Khalid Al Mansouri, a quiet drama was unfolding, one that would change lives forever. Amina, a 17-year-old with almond eyes and a timid smile, moved silently through the marble corridors of the Al Mansouri mansion. She was the daughter of Noor, the villa's head maid, a Somali immigrant who had worked tirelessly for the family for over a decade. Amina's world was confined to the servant quarters, a modest space tucked behind the mansion's grandeur where she and her mother lived in the shadow of wealth. But Amina carried a secret, a burning passion for languages, nurtured in stolen moments with old books and a cracked smartphone screen. The story begins on a sweltering afternoon, the kind where the air shimmered with heat. Khalid Al Mansouri, a titan in the world of international trade, was in a frenzy. His company was on the verge of sealing a historic deal with a Saudi conglomerate, but a critical document, a 50-page contract written in intricate classical Arabic, had been mistranslated by his team's expensive software. The errors were glaring, potentially catastrophic, and the deadline was hours away. Khalid's temper flared as he berated his staff in the glass-walled boardroom, his voice booming through the villa. "Unacceptable!" he roared, slamming the faulty translation on the table. "Do you realize what's at stake? Billions, our reputation. Find me someone who can fix this now." Amina, dusting a chandelier in the adjacent hall, froze. She could hear every word through the open door. Her heart raced, not from fear but from a spark of possibility. She had spent years teaching herself Arabic, piecing together classical texts from library discards and YouTube tutorials. Her mother, Noor, had always encouraged her, whispering, "Knowledge is your wings, Amina. Fly where I could not." But Amina's shyness was a heavy chain, keeping her dreams locked inside. Noor, wiping down a nearby table, caught her daughter's wide-eyed expression. "What is it, Habibti?" she asked softly, her hands rough from years of labor. Amina hesitated, clutching the duster. "Mama, I think I can help. The translation, I know Arabic. I've studied it for years." Noor's face lit up with pride, but worry creased her brow. "Amina, this is Mr. Khalid's business. It's not our place. What if—" "I have to try," Amina interrupted, her voice trembling but resolute. "If I don't, I'll regret it forever." Noor nodded, her eyes glistening. She knew the weight of missed opportunities, having left Somalia with dreams of a better life, only to find herself bound to servitude. "Go, my brave girl," she whispered, squeezing Amina's hand. Amina took a deep breath and stepped into the boardroom, her heart pounding like a drum. The room fell silent as all eyes turned to the slight figure in a faded hijab, standing awkwardly at the threshold. Khalid's piercing gaze pinned her in place. "Who are you?" he demanded, his tone sharp. "I'm Amina, sir. Noor's daughter," she stammered. "I overheard about the translation. I think I can fix it." A ripple of disbelief passed through the room. Khalid's chief aide, Omar, scoffed. "This is a multi-billion dirham deal, girl. We don't have time for games." But Khalid, intrigued by her audacity, leaned forward. "You speak Arabic? Classical Arabic?" "Yes, sir," Amina said, her voice gaining strength. "I've studied it for years. I can help." Khalid's eyes narrowed. He was a man who valued results, not promises, but something in Amina's earnest gaze gave him pause. "Fine," he said, tossing the document toward her. "You have 2 hours. If you fail, don't expect to show your face here again." Amina's hands trembled as she picked up the contract, its pages heavy with expectation. She retreated to a corner of the room, ignoring the skeptical glances from Khalid's team. As she scanned the text, her mind raced. The translation was riddled with errors, legal terms misconstrued, cultural nuances lost. But Amina saw the words as more than ink. They were a melody, a rhythm she had memorized in the quiet of her nights. She worked feverishly, her pen flying across the pages. Memories of her mother's sacrifices fueled her focus. Noor had worked double shifts to buy Amina's first Arabic grammar book, had stayed up late to quiz her on vocabulary. Amina's father, a scholar in Somalia, had died when she was a child, leaving behind a tattered dictionary that became her most treasured possession. Every correction she made felt like a tribute to them both. As the deadline loomed, Amina's confidence wavered. The contract's final section was a dense legal clause, steeped in classical Arabic poetry, a style even native speakers struggled with. Doubt crept in, whispering that she was out of her depth, a maid's daughter daring to play in a billionaire's world. But then she remembered her father's words, etched in her memory. Words are power, Amina. Wield them wisely. She closed her eyes, visualizing the poetic structure, and let the words flow. When she finished, the room was silent except for the scratch of her pen. She handed the corrected document to Khalid, her hands shaking but her head held high. Khalid read through her work, his expression unreadable. Minutes passed, each one an eternity. Finally, he looked up, his eyes wide with astonishment. This is flawless, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. The precision, the elegance, it's better than anything my team has produced. The room erupted in murmurs. Omar, red-faced, muttered an apology. Khalid stood, his imposing figure softened by awe. How did you do this? He asked. Amina's throat tightened. I learned, sir, from books, from videos, from my parents' dreams for me. Khalid's gaze shifted to Noor, who stood in the doorway, tears streaming down her face. He saw not just a maid, but a mother who had nurtured a genius in the shadows. Your daughter is extraordinary, he said to Noor, who could only nod, overwhelmed. But the story didn't end there. Khalid sent the revised contract to the Saudi conglomerate, who praised its clarity and cultural sensitivity. The deal was signed, securing billions in revenue and cementing Al Mansouri Enterprises' reputation. Word of Amina's feat spread, first within the company, then beyond. A local news outlet picked up the story, dubbing her the maid's daughter who spoke like a scholar. Yet Amina faced new challenges. Fame brought scrutiny, and not all of it was kind. Some in the villa whispered that she'd gotten lucky, that a maid's daughter couldn't sustain such brilliance. Others questioned her motives, accusing her of seeking attention. Amina, still shy, struggled under the spotlight. She confided in her mother one night, her voice breaking. Mama, what if they're right? What if I'm not enough? Noor took her daughter's face in her hands. You are more than enough, Amina. You've always been. They see your light now, but it was always there. Khalid, too, saw her potential. He called Amina to his office, an intimidating space lined with awards and artifacts. I've made a decision, he said. I'm funding your education. University, abroad if you want. You choose the path. Amina was stunned. Why, sir? You don't owe me anything. Khalid smiled, a rare warmth in his eyes. Because you reminded me that talent knows no class, no borders. You deserve a chance to shine. Amina chose to study linguistics at Oxford, a dream she'd never dared voice. The day she left Dubai, the villa staff gathered to see her off, their applause echoing in her heart. Noor, sobbing, hugged her tightly. Fly, Habibti, she whispered. Fly high. Years later, Amina returned to Dubai, not as a maid's daughter, but as a renowned translator and advocate for education access. She founded a non-profit to provide language resources to underprivileged children, ensuring others could find their wings. At a gala honoring her work, Khalid, now a mentor and friend, introduced her to a cheering crowd. This, he said, is what happens when we invest in dreams. Amina took the stage, her once timid voice now steady and clear. My mother taught me that no door is too heavy if you carry knowledge, she said. I was a maid's daughter, but I am also a scholar, a dreamer, a builder. And so are you if you believe in yourself. The audience rose in a standing ovation, but Amina's eyes found Noor in the crowd, her mother's proud smile brighter than any spotlight. In that moment, Amina knew her story wasn't just hers. It was a beacon for anyone who felt unseen, a reminder that words, wielded with courage, could rewrite destinies.